Welcome to this lecture on strings in Python. By end of the session, you will be able to create and define strings in Python, print strings using the print function, access specific characters using indexing and slicing, understand important string properties like immutability, apply common string methods for manipulation. And finally, we discuss on string formatting. In Python, strings are one of the most fundamental data types. They are used to store textual information, whether it's names, sentences, or even symbols. A string at its core is simply a sequence of characters arranged in a specific order. Because strings are sequences, Python treats each individual character within the string as having a specific position. This structure allows us to work with parts of the string in a very precise way. One of the key benefits of this is that we can use indexing to access specific characters in the string. This means we can directly refer to the first character, the last character, or any other character in between just by knowing its position. For example, in a name like Alice, we can pick out the character A as the first character or the character E as the last, simply by referring to their index position in the sequence. This concept of indexing opens up powerful ways to manipulate and analyze text. Its foundation for many operations it will perform on strings, from extracting portions of text to modifying or checking the specific values. So whenever you work with strings in Python, always remember a string isn't just a block of text, it's a well-ordered sequence of characters, and each character can be individually accessed using indexing. Alright, let's now talk about printing strings in Python. One of the most fundamental things you will do when learning to code. First, when we code using Jupyter Notebook, there's something important to understand. In Jupyter Notebook, if you type just a string in a cell, say hello world, and run the cell, it will automatically display that string as output. That's because Jupyter Notebook is designed to show the result of the last expression in a cell. However, the proper and recommended way to display a string, not in just Jupyter Notebook but in all Python environments, including when you are writing full scripts, is by using the print function. For example, print hello world within double quotation. This way, you are being explicit and your code will work consistently across any Python environment. Now let's go one step further. What if we want to format the output like printing on a new line or adding a tab space? That's where escape characters come into play. Two common ones are \n for a new line and \t adds a tab space. Here's an example to demonstrate this, and the output of it will be like as shown here. In Python, strings are more than just text. They are sequences. What this means is that each character in a string has a specific position and Python keeps track of that position internally. Because of this, we can access individual characters from a string based on their location or index within the sequence. To access this character, Python uses a technique called indexing. This simply means referring to the position of a character by placing its value inside square bracket. For example, if we have a word like Python, Python treats it as a sequence of characters, each with its own unique position or index starting from 0. And yes, it's very important to remember that Python indexing starts at 0. So the first character in the string is at position 0, second at position 1, and so on. This might feel little unusual if you are new to programming, but it's a standard practice in most programming languages. So when we talk about the first character, we are really referring to index 0. The second character will be at index 1, the third at index 2, and so forth. Understanding indexing is crucial because it forms the foundation for many other string operations you will perform, from slicing to replacing parts of a string or even looping through characters for analysis. In summary, strings in Python are sequence of characters and indexing, which lets us access this character by their position. Python uses square brackets to perform this lookup, and the count begins from 0. Keep this structure in mind as we move ahead because you will use it again and again in real-world programming tasks. String slicing, which we will study now, allows us to extract a specific part or substring from a larger string. This is done by specifying a range of indices using the format start, stop. The slicing will include the characters at the start index but will stop just before the index which is at the stop position. This is something students often miss. The stop value is not included in the result. For example, if we want to extract characters from second to fifth position, we would slice from index 1 to index 5. The result will include the characters at index 1, 2, 3 and 4 but not index 5. Python slicing is very flexible. It even allows you an optional step value, which lets you skip characters in between. The full slicing syntax is start, stop, step. We'll see this when we basically switch to Jupyter Notebook and we'll get acquainted with the syntax. Now if we set the value of step to 2, Python will return every second character from the defined range. This ability to control which characters you access and at what interval makes slicing a very useful tool for working with strings efficiently. In Python, strings are immutable, meaning once a string object is created, its content cannot be changed. If you attempt to modify a string by changing a character at a specific index or by appending new text, a new string is created instead of altering the original one. This behavior ensures that the strings remain constant and predictable throughout their lifetime. This immutability brings several important benefits. It improves security and reliability, especially in contexts where strings are used as keys in dictionaries or passed around in functions. Since the value can't be changed, it prevents unintended side effects. Additionally, immutability supports thread safety, allowing multiple parts of a program to safely use the same string without worrying about one thread altering its contents. However, it's important to note that excessive string manipulations such as concatenating strings in loops can lead to performance issues due to repeated creation of new string objects. In such cases, Python alternatives like using .join with lists offer a more efficient solution. As I said, strings are objects, and like most objects, they come with built-in methods, special functions that are already attached to the objects and let you perform specific actions on it. This method allows us to easily manipulate or inspect string values. To use string methods, we apply dot notation in the form string.method and within the parenthesis its parameters. It's important to remember that strings in Python are immutable, so these methods don't change the original string, they return a new one instead. Also, while some methods take no parameters, others do depending on what you want to achieve. Don't worry if everything doesn't click right away. For now, just understand that methods are built-in tools tied to string objects that help you perform useful actions like changing case, finding text, or replacing content. In this lecture, we'll practice using several string methods directly in Jupyter Notebook to see how they work in real time. Finally, before switching to the Jupyter Notebook, there are three main methods of formatting strings in Python. Let's break them down. So the first one is fstring method. This method was introduced in Python 3.6 and is now the most preferred approach for formatting strings. With fstrings, you write the strings normally but prefix it with an f instead the string. You can embed variables or even expression using curly braces. This style is highly readable and efficient, making it ideal for modern Python development. The second one is the dot format method. This method allows you to insert values into a string using placeholder defined by curly braces. You provide the values by calling the dot format method on the string. It supports both positional and keywords arguments, making it flexible and suitable for a wide range of use cases. While still widely used, it is more verbose compared to f strings. Finally, the percent formatting, which is the old style. This is the oldest form of string formatting in Python and is inspired by C language's printf style. It uses special symbol like %s and %d as placeholder and fills them with the values using the percent operator. Although it still works, it's considered outdated and less readable and therefore not recommended for new code. Alright, that's a lot of theory. Now let's jump to the Jupyter notebook and apply this theory and see how it works practically. In order to create a string, either we can use single quote or double quote. For example, I can write within single quote, hello world. And this would provide me the output, hello world. The same hello world can be written within the double quote as I am showing now. And it would return me the same output. We can even write a complete sentence to form a string. Say for example, I am a string. If I write it within the single quote, it would return me the output, I am a string. Now why we need a double and a single quote? So for example, if I write here within the single quote, I am a single quote, but this will throw an error. Why this throws an error? Because Python thinks that the string is ending here at this first single quote. Now I can write this same statement within the double quote. Let me just show you. And the Python doesn't complain here with any syntax error. So that's the benefit of using a double quote, or rather we use a mix of single and double quote. Also, what you have noticed here is that in Jupyter Notebook we can just type the string in a cell and then press enter. This would only work in Jupyter Notebook. This is quite similar for the previous lectures where we printed numbers, variables, etc. In order to make it work in any environment, we have to use the print statement. So for example, print hello world. Also, we can write a full string, a sentence, using the print statement. So for example, if I write print this is a string, I would get the output this is a string. During the theory, what we have discussed is the escape sequence. So let's try that out. Let me type print within single quote, enter here, and then \n, and I will write new line. And then if I execute this command, I will see that it is enter here, and then we have an enter because of this escape sequence \n, and then I have a space, and then I got the string new line from this statement. Now let's try the other one, that is the tab sequence. If I write print and say tab here and then give \t, see the tab. And let me execute this line. So if you see here, after tab here we have a big space indicating the tab, and then we see the other part of the string, that is see the tab. There is a Python built-in method len which counts all of the characters in the string, including the spaces and punctuations. Let me show you. If I write len and then parenthesis, within that if I write hello space, mind you space, hello world, and then a punctuation which is exclamation here, and then execute this, I get 12. So if I now count this, you will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this space is 6, then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So this proves that it is counting both the space, it's counting the space and the punctuation. Let me enter here few more lines so that it becomes little bit more readable. Now strings are sequence of character, which means Python can use indexes to call parts of the string. Let me first declare the string s equals to hello world, and then let me print this hello world. Now let me try to grab the first character. So remember, the first character is the index 0. So it returns me age. And then let me try to grab any character from between, say, s at index 2. This returns me 0, 1, 2, and at index 2 we have L, hence it is returning 2. Remember, by default the last character can also be indicated by index -1. So if I call s -1, then I get D, because D is the last character in this sequence. Let's move on now. Just before moving on, always remember the first index starts at 0 and last index can be referred as -1. This is very important to remember. I stressed this during the theory also, and I'm stressing this now also. Let us move to the topic of slicing now. As I said, we can use the colon to perform slicing, which grabs everything to the designated point. Let's see an example first. I would try to grab from the index 1 and everything until the end, which I can do by just not writing anything after the colon. Now if I write, or if I execute this statement, you will see I have everything from the index 1 until the end. Remember the original string doesn't get modified. So if I try to print the original string, you will see that the original string is retained. Now in case if I want to grab everything from the beginning, what I can do is that I can just not write anything before the colon, and I can write an index until where, but not including that index after the colon. So if I just write this command and execute it, I will see that I have the value until the index 3 but not the index 3. Let me show you one more thing here. If I want to type all the values in that string or the complete string, I can also use this slicing operation where I don't write anything before or after the colon. It will return me the complete string. Also, if I do, this is interesting, just notice here, if I do s colon -1, it returns me everything until the point before the last index, because -1 indicates the last index. We can also use indexing and slicing notation to grab elements of a sequence by specified step size. By default, the step size is 1. Let's see an example. If I write s, then open and close square bracket and give 2 colons and just execute this, I will see the complete string is returned. Similarly, if I write s open and close square bracket and then 2 colons and 1, this also returns me the complete string. Now if I try to give a step size of 2 now, which I can do by writing this. So if you see here in the original string, it prints the first character and then counts from here 1, 2, it prints the L, then again 1, 2, it prints O, then 1, which is the space, 2, W, it prints the W, and so on. Now strings are immutable. This means once strings are created, the elements within it cannot be changed or replaced. Be careful with the wordings. I am saying the elements within it. We'll see one more case later. That's why I am stressing on it. The elements within the strings cannot be changed or replaced. So if I try to change the element at 0th index, so for example, if I just put 1, it would throw me an error. So it throws me an error. String object does not support item assignment. Just before showing the difference, what I said now, I can also concatenate the string. So for example, I can write s plus concatenate me. So hello world concatenate me. I can insert a space here to make it look better. So hello world concatenate me. Although the elements within the strings cannot be changed, the string in whole itself can be reassigned. So for example, if I write here s equals to s plus concatenate me and then print s, it doesn't throw me an error. It gives me the output hello world concatenate me. So the whole string can be basically reassigned. Another string property is we can use multiplication symbol to create repetition. So for example, if I write letter is equals to z, and then if I write letter into 10, which is asterisk, so it creates 10 times z. Let's move on now. One of the key things which we had discussed was the method in strings. So one of the methods is, or the most widely used is upper method. What you can do is that you can also type 1 2 words and then press tab. You will see that it is popping up automatically. So s dot upper, if I call, it will convert everything in the string to uppercase letter. So for example here, hello world concatenate me. Similarly, what I can do is that I can convert this to lowercase letter like this. I can also split a string. So what I can do is that I can write s dot split. It will split by default at the spaces. So it is splitting at hello and then at the space and then world and then the space and so on. I can also split at a specific character by passing the character within the method. So for example, s dot split and then I can say e, obviously within the single quote, and then you will see here it is splitting at the character e h, and then it is splitting at e, it doesn't include e, and then ll o, and then it's not again splitting at space, but it is continuing with the word world, and then it is again splitting at e somewhere here. Now at the last but not the least, this is one of the most important topics which I showed you during the theory also, is about the string formatting. So the most easiest and the most preferred way, as I said earlier, to do string formatting is using the f-string method. So now for example, if I just assign a string to a variable and write say Sunny here, and then try to use this. Say for example print, I would put the single quotes, and before putting the single quotes I put the word F, and then say the day is, and then I will not write anything but put curly braces, and within the curly braces I'll put that variable name where I have assigned the string. So now if I execute this, it returns me the day is sunny. Now if I change this sunny to cloudy, you will see that the output changes. The next preferred method which I have shown you is the dot f method. In this, or sorry, the dot format method. In this method, what I'll do, I'll just show you an example first. I'll write print. This is a string with, and say for example I then open and close the curly braces, and after the quote I put dot and say format, and within the format I need to pass the string which I want to insert in this curly braces instead of the curly braces rather. So let me say something like insert, and then execute this. You will see this is a string with an insert. Remember, it's up to you which method you prefer from these two and which one you are comfortable with. Let me also show you one more example of the dot format method where you can basically order it using the indexes. So I will write print and then the, and put multiple curly braces, rather I'll put 3. Oops, I had to put this within the single quote, and then say dot format, and within the parentheses I will write down the parameters which I want to pass in the curly braces. So the first one I can write fox, then I will write quick, and then I will write brown. Now let me just execute this before changing it. You will see here it says the fox quick brown. Okay, and then my intention is to put it into a meaningful word. So what I can do is that I can put the indexes of this strings which is passed, or the parameters which is passed within the dot format method. So the index starts at 0. So if I put here 2, which means the brown, 0, 1, 2, and then here 1 and then 0. Also what you can do is that for better readability you can also put spaces in between the curly braces. Now if I execute this, you will see I get a good meaningful statement, the brown quick fox, but I think it's not so meaningful. So what I will do is that there I will make this as 1 and then this as 2. Now if I execute this, you will see the quick brown fox. There is one more way to do this. I'll just copy this line and paste it here, and I can assign variables to this parameter. So I will say f is equals to fox, q is equals to quick, and then b is equals to brown. So I want the quick brown fox, so I'll write instead of 1 q, and then instead of 2 I will write here b, and then here f. I'll try to execute this, and now you will see here the quick brown fox. So it's a very good method, and with practice you will become very good, and you can culture on this and then try some practice codes, and come back here and put it in the comment box whether you are facing any difficulty. As I said before, there is one more method, that is the %s But let's not do that, because that's not no more a common practice in Python, and just practicing it will simply increase your confusion, and it's better to always choose any one of these two methods. So that's it from the strings lesson. We'll meet in our next lesson to discuss about the list.